How's things, guys? In this video today, I'm going to go through a full case study, start to finish, how we brought a brand from being unprofitable to profitable. This is a seven-figure brand, multi seven figures. And when we onboarded them last year, they were unprofitable. They were overspending. They were tackling peaks with a revenue-focused approach, not a profit-focused approach. So I'm going to show you on how we effectively tackled a peak in 2025, their biggest peak of the year. So let's get in. So now I'm going to give you a little bit of a brief overview of where the client was in 2024, where they are now in 2025. So as a background, in 2024, when we onboarded this client, they had a very much spend more, make more approach, not looking at the bottom line, and it was very, very unprofitable. Even when we identified some of the operating costs as well, that they were after increasing astronomically. So we refined some of them, which then helped us on the other side of things. So again, we looked at this whole business from a holistic point of view and looked at their costs throughout. So as you can see on the left-hand side here in 2024, there was an over-reliance on Google Ads. They only had one channel that they were focused on. There was no channel diversification, especially during peak periods, especially when you can tell a story and have tailored strategies. We introduced Meta in this case, which I'll go through later on, some really good results that we optimized on and increased the marketing efficiency ratio. So as you can see here, there was a focus on a revenue and sales, not profit. They lacked direction and long-term planning. They had unsustainable ad spending. So again, they were just spending more to make more, not looking at their bottom line. And there's a different agency running all of the paid acquisition. So fast forward to 2025, they've diversification across different marketing channels. We introduced Meta. We also introduced some offline channels, which is really important for this business. Also, there is a profit-orientated strategy now, and then also increased in key profit metrics, sustainable business growth model, and they now have a unified marketing strategy. I think this is one of the most important parts, is having cohesion across all the different channels, across Optima Digital, across the client's internal marketing team, and then also some external partners that specialize in specific areas that we brought in this case, which I'll go through in a couple of minutes. Also, some considerations, I suppose, just summarizing the industry. I'm not going to go into the actual industry that it was or the client. They're very confidential and don't want to be mentioned. So this industry is very competitive. They sell a perishable product. There's economies of scale. There's massive companies with massive budgets, and they're completely different business models to our client. And when we came in, we kind of seen that our client was tackling these big powerhouses heads on last year. They were just bidding against them. There was overlap in the auction insights, and they're just bidding more and more and more to try make more sales. But it didn't mean that they were as profitable. So some of these brands operate across Europe, they operate across the globe, and our client needs to go to international auctions to buy these products, and he's competing against all of these big powerhouses. So we need to make sure that we had a tailored strategy during this Valentine's, and you'll see that by having cohesion across the whole marketing strategy, working off the same calendars, everybody singing off the same hymn sheet, we can then have a really effective strategy. The next stage that I'm going to go through here is the strategic planning and the data-driven insights. So there's a couple of areas that you need to focus on when you're tackling a peak. You need to look at the historical data. You need to look at the market environment analysis, and also the product and inventory planning. In this case, it was crucial because, as I mentioned, the client has to go to an auction. It's perishable products. Our forecasting needs to be right in this case. So as W. Edwards Deming says, without data, you're just another person with an opinion. So we needed to really take a step back. We brought in external partners, which I'll go through now in a minute, and then we go with a tailored marketing approach. So the historical data analysis, we basically, in summary here, we looked at what worked last year, what was spent last year, what didn't work, what could be improved on, and that's on the paid advertising side of things. And we know that there was just Google. Is there something that we could maybe leverage? Is there another channel? So we introduced Meta this year, again, which I'll go on to now in a couple of minutes and talk about. Also, we looked at the email marketing side of things. What campaigns were run, what segments were ran, what performed well, what didn't, what can be leveraged this year, especially as retargeting strategies, what cohorts can we target again and leverage. Next is the market environment and analysis. So we also studied the competitive landscape and found that the bids of Valentine's related keywords significantly increased. So looking at the budget allocation, we had to see that also some countries performed a lot better than others. So some people wanted to sell the product or send the product as a gift from key markets, and we could see that the conversion rates are really high for these markets. So again, leveraging this historical data going back to point one was absolutely crucial. And then product and inventory planning, so understanding the client's product inventory and it being a perishable in nature of their goods was critical. We used historical data, sales projections to ensure optimal stock levels, minimizing both stockouts and excess inventory. This careful planning was crucial for maximizing profitability and customer satisfaction during this peak Valentine's season. So again, looking at what was spent last year, how much stock was depleted, and when it was depleted by, and then what dates it started to ramp up on conversion rates, so then we could go online with the advertising spend. So I just want to go through, when we first met up, we had our planning and strategy. So we had our initial planning meeting. We brought in StoreHero, which is a fantastic profit first platform. It's a platform that we use with all of our clients in advertising. So basically we bring the clients on, they can see all of their key metrics. We can run our forecasts throughout the year. We can see where we're at on a daily basis. We can get reports on a weekly basis, all within the one platform instead of going from one platform to another. So StoreHero, we had Thomas join us, one of the co-founders, and Thomas came in. We looked at all of the numbers from an operations point of view. And we also looked at it from a marketing point of view. Thomas worked alongside our internal team at Optima Digital, and then also we brought in Vinnie O'Brien, one of Ireland's leading e-commerce consultants, works with some really big players across the industry. And so basically all of our teams together alongside the internal team of the client work together to focus on profit, focus on getting the right forecasts, focused on strategic alignment in summary. So everybody going, okay, let's take a step back here. Let's look at the historical data. Let's look at the market. Let's look at the product and the inventory planning. And now let's see if we can get a strategy together to tackle this peak, bring this brand out of being really unprofitable to being profitable. This brand was going to go out of business if we didn't get this right within the next couple of months. So again, I'm going to show you a couple of results now in a couple of minutes. But again, initial planning meeting was one of the most important meetings for this brand. It laid the foundations down for our strategies. So we started in November with this brand doing paid advertising, and it's great to hear that in February 2025 that the brand is significantly profitable. So now I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview of the key metrics year on year. As you can see here, our total ad spend was 38,922, a decrease of 34% year on year. So as I said at the start, last year was spend more, make more approach. This year, spend less, be more profitable, have a more efficient marketing strategy. So the net sales remained really stable in comparison to the previous year. It was pretty much the exact same, which means that we were much more efficient with our marketing spend. The contribution margin was up 213% year on year, and the marketing efficiency ratio is 4.11, up 46% year on year. The return on investment for Google was 3.45, and the spend was 33,500, and the return was 115,781. However, Meta was a new channel. We introduced it at the very start of February. I think it was the 3rd of February that we introduced it on. Valentine's was on the 14th of February, and we spent 5,379 and we returned 45,205. This was a new channel. We didn't know how this channel was going to react. We had no historical data, but as you can see here, we really tried to optimize the spend on this channel. And looking at this for next year, as a flywheel approach, we actually know that this channel works now. So which means that we can put more budget into it at the start. But you can see here that we did raise the spend as much as possible, going all the way up to towards Valentine's. So we didn't just stay stagnant, have the good results, and stay at the very bottom of the spend here of maybe 30, 40 a day. We went all the way up to spending 900 up to even 1600 a day there. So we did scale the spend as we went. And as you can see here, here's some of the metrics to back up what I said here on the left hand side. So from the StoreHero dashboard, our marketing efficiency ratio was 4.11, up 46% year on year. The contribution margin was up 213% year on year. And then the return on investment for Google and Meta were also really, really strong. So now I'm going to go through how we had a really cohesive strategy. In summary, we all worked off the same dashboard. I'm going to blur this out just because it's confidential, but all different teams, our marketing team, the internal marketing team, our external partners, could all see the data at the same time. We could see what ads were being released. We could see when emails were being sent out. In summary, we could see all the strategies at the same time. We could communicate within these tasks, and we could make pivots on the fly. So again, this allowed us to have really cohesive messaging across the advertising, across the email marketing, across the offline channels. Everything was in cohesion. The same offer was being pushed, even across the landing pages. Everything was the same. So our external web partners were also helping us in this case. So yeah, I just wanted to go through here that it's so crucial to have a centralized database, especially when you're tackling a peak at the same time, and just so there is cohesion across the strategy. I'm now going to move on to the next section, which is going through the different communications and how we actually tailored some of the approaches. So the next section I'm going to go through is performance monitoring and adaptation. So for the first one here, daily monitoring, during a peak is absolutely crucial to be monitoring this daily. Even like when it comes to a Friday and people are off on a Saturday and Sunday, whoever's analyzing the advertising or who is involved in this peak has to be looking at this all the way through the weekend, 7 days a week, every single day. So we track the key performance indicators like sales, ad spend, marketing efficiency ratio, contribution margin on a daily basis, which allowed us then to quickly identify trends and adjust campaign strategies as needed to ensure optimal performance. Here's some of the key metrics from the StoreHero dashboard, and then some real-time optimization. So with access to real-time data, we're able to adapt our campaigns to changing marketing conditions. This involved adjusting bids, targeting, messaging based on performance insights, ensuring that our efforts remained aligned with the campaign objectives. This is just an example here of our head of growth, Daniel, communicating with the client. I think it's really good to keep this raw and show we're on the ball, and letting the client know exactly what's going on year, the percentage, and then how we've been scaling the ads. Again, looking at the inventory management, this is something that we had a really, really close eye on. As I said, it's a perishable industry. If the product goes out of date, if the goals do not be hit, the product is gone. It's unprofitable and the sales are lost. So as you can see here, we maintain a close communication with the client's product tracking system to ensure that all inventory levels were aligned with sales projections. This proactive approach helped prevent stockouts, overstocking, and contributing to overall campaign success. And then here's the CEO checking in. So hi all, we're around 95% sell through after additional stock being added to the tracker. Can you please scale down or even cut the ads? So this was at 6 p.m. on the day of Valentine's. We were going to run all the way through to 9 p.m. and that's when the courier was picking up all of the stock. But as you can see here, we hit all of our goals, which is brilliant. And we were also way more profitable year on year. So in the next section, I'm going to talk through how we implemented an omnichannel approach. I'm going to talk through Google here on the left-hand side and Meta on the right-hand side. As I mentioned earlier on, the main channel that we had last year was Google. It was the only channel that the client had. There was no other channels or no marketing channel diversification. So all of the budget went to Google. It was still unprofitable. As I said, it was very much a spend and make more, not a profit first approach. So on the left-hand side, I'm going to talk through a couple of points on that we implemented, and then on the right hand side I'll go through Meta and talk about some points as well. So we implemented some seasonal creative copy optimization. So as we said from the planning message and initial meeting, we had a cohesive approach where we had the same offer, we had the same copy. This is the same for Meta on the right hand side, and then we also had the branded search expansion. So in this case, we really wanted to make sure that we were gathering all of that branded search during this time. This helped us lower the CPAs. So basically what that means is anybody who searched the brand's name, if there's competitors bidding on that name, that the brand would come up first. So in summary, you're getting people who actually know your brand. Dynamic bid adjustments. So we were changing the bid adjustments to align with what we thought was the best practice, again enabling us to lower the CPAs, and then scaling the budget allocation. So as the conversion rate increased closer to the date of Valentine's, we knew from the historical data that the conversion rate increased by 3 to 4%, and the intent got really high. So we started to scale the budget at the most efficient time to then again help lower the CPA and increase the profitability. And then match type optimization. So we ran broad type, phrase match, and exact type keywords. We had them all segmented out in between each of the campaigns where relevant. So then that enabled us to effectively run more effective Google ads. So again, all of these together alongside location-based campaigns, which was really, really important, because when we analyzed the data from last year and even the data from since we started, we can see that some of the traffic, the conversion rate is much higher. For example, Australia and the US was much higher than Canada and even the UK. So we weighted a lot of the budget towards that. And then, of course, we had our own individual Irish campaign too, and even a Dublin campaign. So moving on to Meta, we had engaged in seasonal creatives. So again, we A/B tested the different types of creatives. We had statics, videos, GIFs, and people holding the product, people not holding the product, people buy it, the product by itself. Lots of different A/B tests ran there prior to increasing the budget and finding that winning creative. Again, going forward, it's really good that we have this data now for next year to really optimize on that, and it's going to help us in our evergreen campaigns going forward for the seasons and even the occasions that people actually buy the product for. So moving on, we ran marketing strategies, remarketing strategies. We targeted the website visitors, people who were high intent, let's say window shoppers over the last 90 days or so, and then we scaled the budget again in line with that forecast. So we found that the Meta, because we had no historical data on that, and we're only spending a very, very minute amount at the start of February, we found that the conversion rate was really good. The CPA was way better than Google. So we started to increase the budget on that significantly up to 1,600 just the day before Valentine's Day. So again, next year we'll probably go a little bit earlier. We'll probably increase it by quite a bit more, and we'll take more budget off Google and we'll put that more into Meta, which again will increase the marketing efficiency ratio, which is what we need to seek and to be more effective. And then finally, the broad audience targeting. We realized that if we just throw the net out wide and let Meta do its thing, it's creative driven. We found the winning creative. We know what works now, which is great. So then we just put it in there, and we can also send in some audience signals as well going forward, linking in our Klaviyo and gathering that first party data. And then finally, the cross-channel synergy with Google Ads. So again, when you have the awareness on Meta, people may see the promotion, they may look at it on Google, they'll type it in, and once they see that promotion, if there's unison there and there's cohesion there, that's what we want. We want the offer on Meta in line with the offer on Google, and when they go from Google, go to the website, it's all in line and there's cohesion there. And then even if they sign up to emails and they don't buy, they're still getting the same offer. So they're getting hit by many different touch points with the same messaging. So again, as you can see, two completely different strategies from Google to Meta. But in summary, I think the main theme across this whole presentation here is cohesion across the messaging and having tailored strategies and really just doing in-depth research. So briefly, I'm going to go through the email marketing strategy for this brand. It was really, really effective this year. It actually performed well last year, but I'm going to talk you through some of the strategies of what we've done and walk you through it so you can use it for your brand during a peak. And more often than not, doing this, it works for each industry. So firstly, we looked at the historical data. We looked at what campaigns worked well last year. We looked at what strategies worked well last year, what didn't work well, what could be improved on, and what segments could be used from last year. So in this case, we know that was a massive peak period. We were able to collate a segment of 2024 buyers, 2023 buyers within the dates of 1st to the 14th of the year, or of February. So we were able to retarget these both on an email marketing point of view, but also on a paid advertising point of view too. So these are really good audiences to feed back in. And then also we tailored our pop-ups. So I think every brand should be doing this when they're tackling a peak. We put in the Valentine's graphics, copy, offer into our pop-up, and then also we gave the offer at the end. But at the same time, no matter what industry it is, you'll always see an uplift. It's going to be much more appealing to the visitor that's coming onto the website than seeing the generic, let's say it's 10% off offer or $10 off over a certain price point, whatever it is. If somebody comes on and sees it's for that season, they're going to think it's for that season. So what we saw was 100% uplift in sign-ups, but also a 50% increase in sign-up to conversion rate because we had strategic email flows. So what we done was we created specific email flows for that occasion. If you're spending a significant amount of money on driving traffic to the website, it does make sense. Every industry is the same, but more often than not, it does make sense to then create specific flows. When somebody goes through to the welcome 1, 2, or 3, and they see it's relevant to that time of the year, the conversion rate is going to increase. Same if they click through an email and they get a browser bump in the email, or they add to the cart or the checkout and they leave the website. If they get a specific flow tailored to that time of the season, it's going to perform better. So again, the theme of this whole peak here is cohesion. There's cohesion across the ads, both Meta and Google. There's cohesion across the offline channel. There's cohesion across the email marketing. And then there's also cohesion across the website too. Moving on to that, we also have the segmentation and personalization. So again, looking at the different customer segments that we could use, leveraging the historical data and going at the 2024 buyers, the engaged audience, the high value customers, people who have been engaged but who have abandoned their carts. So we like to call them window shoppers, people who are active on the site but haven't bought but have been opening emails. It's really, really important to target these types of people during these times and really try win them back. We also looked at the inventory. This tailored our strategy about what was in the emails, what products were getting pushed. Was there ones that were actually slower this year than last year? Again, always on the fly, going off our planner, making sure that we're making the right decisions at the right time, sending the right messages. And then also the campaigns and teams. So again, sending them at optimal times. We know that, for example, in this case, the best performing campaign is delivery dates. In any industry, again, if you're coming up to a peak period, make sure that you're sending delivery dates campaigns. Let people know when they have to order by, because people people don't know when the actual date is coming up. Sometimes even they know that, let's say Christmas is on the 25th of December, but they don't know what actually day it is, and they lose track of when they have to order it by. So, and this is the same for Valentine's. Every year it falls on a different day. So again, always just remind them with their delivery dates, and even send up a plain text reminder to people who haven't bought on that one. If you have a peak period and people who have opened their emails or they haven't bought, or they've clicked your emails and they haven't bought, always send reminders. Don't be afraid to send reminders. They're highly engaged users. It's not going to hurt your deliverability. A lot of people think it will, and they're worried about sending too many emails. You don't want to be sending too many irrelevant emails, but it does make sense to be sending these types of emails. And then the results and impact of this. Again, we had a brilliant year with email marketing this year. It was up over 100% year on year. And you can see here, it just makes sense. And it's operationally, it is pretty heavy. You have to create new pop-ups, you have to create new flows, you have to create campaign and creatives. But again, some of the creatives that are created in the email marketing can be used and resized as statics, as one-to-ones in social channels. So again, our design department will then pass on our designs to the static designs onto the paid ads team. And then if they need anything for the PMAX campaigns in Google Ads, we'll resize them too. So again, cohesion results in an effective. The next part I'm going to focus on here is a specific Valentine's landing page. As you can see here, there's a use of AI imagery as the client is extremely private and the strategy/info is confidential. So I just want to talk through some of the points that we focused on. We had a specific landing page that we were driving the traffic to where the collection lay. We also had countdown timers for certain delivery dates, when they needed to order for next day delivery, the countdown to the big day, and then also visually appealing designs, relevant product collections, exclusive deals, and also we could show certain pop-ups to certain segments at certain times. So again, it's something that's overlooked, but really try focus on having an effective landing page every time you have a peak. At the end of the day, you're spending money to drive people to the landing page at this time. It's an important time of the year. Give yourself the best chance to convert these customers. So the blueprint to an effective peak in e-commerce. Step 1, identify true profitability. Go beyond vanity metrics and analyze unit economics to uncover the real picture. Really understand the numbers that you need to hit. Market efficiency ratio, contribution margins, always a pillar to go to. Step 2, historical data analysis. Ensure you leverage any potential historical data at your disposal. Always crucial. Look back on what happened year on year. What worked well? What didn't work well? What can we work and do this year to make everything better and more efficient? Step 3, multi-channel execution. Optimize and maximize the potential of all channels at your disposal. Some, I suppose, businesses may only need one, some may need multiple, but especially in this case, we knew that the one channel that we were focused on here was killing this business. We had to be more efficient with different channels. So that's why we introduced offline. That's why we introduced Meta as another channel. And as you can see this year, it outperformed the channel that was underperforming last year. They had a CPA this year of €7, which is brilliant. It was very, very profitable. It's one that we can certainly improve on next year and increase the budget allocation towards Meta as well, which is great. So really good learnings on that one. So you'll only ever find out some, I suppose, data by trialing and testing and seeing what works and putting some small budgets behind it. And if it works, well then don't be afraid to spend if the numbers are correct. Track key metrics. Again, avoid the vanity metrics like return on advertising and double down on the ones that really matter. The likes of market efficiency ratio, looking at the contribution margin. These are the metrics that you really, really need to focus on, because the contribution margin is the one that looks after the operating costs. And then after that, you'll have your net profit. So net profit is the one that you always need to be looking at. And that's the one that, again, is the bottom line and puts money in the pocket of the e-commerce business. So step 5, don't be afraid to scale. If you know your numbers and you're agile, push wherever possible. We saw this year that Meta were able to increase the budget from 30 a day all the way up to 1,600 a day. Next year, we'll probably won't spend as much on Google. We'll probably spend maybe 50-50 instead of having it weighted towards Google this year. But we didn't have any historical data on Meta last year. So now we know, we have historical data. We know what works. We've trialed and A/B tested different graphics, different forms of creative. So next year we'll have a much more cohesive approach. And again, although we were much more efficient with our marketing this year, I think we can push again next year, which is great. Number 6, monitor and adapt. Make changes in real time, track inventory, and analyze KPIs daily. So this goes back to having the cohesive approach, looking at the tracker on a daily, especially in this industry. It was perishable goods. We had to make sure that we depleted profitably. All departments were working together on the same database. We could all see what was going on in real time at the same time. We're all looking at the same dashboard, which was StoreHero, analyzing the key metrics. I'd highly recommend anybody who runs an e-commerce business and wants a profit first approach to be using platforms like StoreHero. And then step 7, look, you can speak with us or you can speak with another agency. It's totally up to you. I hope you found this interesting, but also at the same time, just make sure that you get the fundamentals right. Know your numbers, have a cohesive approach, and really put your best foot forward during a peak. Don't just jump in with no strategy, spend a ridiculous amount of money, and again, as I said, have no strategy. I also have a blueprint that I'm going to share now in a minute. I think this is something that everybody should avail of. If you would like it, feel free to just leave me a comment. I can pass it over to you. But in summary, this is going to give you a full overview and breakdown of the steps you need to take to have an effective peak for your e-commerce brand. So as you can see here, we've created a full flowchart blueprint that you can use to tackle any peak for your e-commerce brand. It goes through from planning all the way through to implementation, from results from year on year from 2024 to 2025, key outcomes, how our teams work together with external partners and agencies. It's something that every brand needs to use. Feel free to DM me, leave a comment in the inbox if you want it. Feel free to, I'll pass it on to you, no problem at all. But I really do think that this blueprint here is something that everybody should refer back to. And then also, here's us in our fancy suits. Last year, we were lucky enough to win e-commerce agency of the year at the Irish e-commerce awards. It was an award that was great for both myself and my co-founder personally, but also for our wider team and our clients as well. We wouldn't be where we are today without any of our clients and external partners. So just want to say thanks to them. But yeah, there's us in our fancy suits. Hopefully you found this video interesting. Always open to ideas and, you know, feedback. If you ever like us to create any types of videos that you may find beneficial, feel free to reach out and we'll get them on the list.